A very good evening, dear viewers. Welcome to my show. Today we have a special guest, and I'm pretty confident that at the end of this program, we will be enlightened a bit more about the particular issue that we are going to discuss. We are going to focus on the origin of Islam today. And instead of wasting our time, let's meet our guest. Our guest is Mr. HASAN MAHMUD. Mr. HASAN MAHMUD, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm fine, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, good morning to everybody, wherever you are. Let everybody in peace. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're most welcome. Mr. HASAN MAHMUD is an author and a researcher on Sharia law. Mr. HASAN MAHMUD has been engaged in various writings, and also he encourages free discussion on various issues, including theology and related matters. Mr. Mahmud, today's topic, with your permission, I chose origin of Islam. Let's hear from your side first. How do you define, or how do you see origin of Islam from your end?
Thank you very much. Actually, the quest of Islam's origin doesn't matter from which angle you proceed, ultimately boil down to finding the definition of Islam. And actually, you hit the bullseye, because many theological and related problems in Muslim world comes up from this one root, the absence of the definition of Islam. Well, simplistically, the religion that was preached by Hazrat Adam and all our prophets is Islam. Well, it's not pragmatic. We cannot make anything out of this statement. But that's why, see, religion, Bangla, আমরা বলি বিমূর্ত ভাবনা. It's a kind of, I don't know what is the English, but it's a matter of belief and feeling and emotion. So it's, I'm sorry. So it's very, very hard to give it a linguistic shape with words and sentences. But still, we have a workable idea in our mind about what is Islam. But you know what? The very first effort to define Islam took place in 1953. All along from 632 to 1953, nobody actually bothered about it, and it was not necessary as well. In 1953, when Jamaat-e-Islami pushed the government very hard to declare Ahmadi Muslims non-Muslim constitutionally, the government formed a commission headed by the Chief Justice Munir. I think he was Munir Ahmed. And that commission dwelled with about 11 Maulanas, including Maulana Maududi, for about 2.5 years, just to define what is Islam. And at the end, the Munir Commission report, it is available in the internet.
Yes.
You will see that these top alims, they were very close, but could not agree with a definition of Islam 100%. Even two of them, anyway, I'm not going into details. But you know what? Islam's definition was given to us by the person who brought Islam to us. Why it is not taught all over the Muslim world, and why it is not actually observed. I'm reading it from my book. I'm sorry, I'm in the process of moving. So most of my books are in the new place. So the original book is there. I am reading from this book. The famous book of Imam Nawawi is 40 hadiths. This is hadith number 2. The Prophet ﷺ was talking with companions, and then angel Gabriel came and asked From here, let me quote. He said, "O Muhammad, tell me about Islam." The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Islam is to testify that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger, to perform the prayers, to pay the zakat, to fast in the month of Ramadan, and to make the pilgrimage to the house if you are able to do so." Mr. Mufassil, Islam is that simple. We don't need 500 tafsir books and lots of hadiths. Well, we need, of course, but not as a religious book, but historical books. And then let me read it from this book. This is a Sahih Bukhari, translated by Abdul Jalil. What every Muslim wants to go to heaven. This is hadith number 12. I am shortening it. A tribe accepted Islam and they came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked that, "Ya Prophet, please give us some clear advice and ahkam, orders, instructions, so that we can follow it and we can go to the heaven." This is the path of going to heaven, that is Islam. And what was his answer? Accept and promise that Allah is the only ilah. Number two, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his Rasul. Number three, established prayer. Number four, give zakat. Number five, give fast in Ramadan. And then Ghanimat, 1/5 of Ghanimat, etc., etc. That is Islam. Now, this is from the Prophet, what the Quran says. If we connect two elements of the Quran, the definition of the Quran by the Quran, and the life mission of the prophets by the Quran, we see that Quran defined itself as a book of light, divine guidance, a message supreme, message to the words, a reminder, al-zikr, Surah Hijr, verse 9, advice, Surah Nur, as a book of Nur, enlightenment, and criterion, Surah Furqan. Never anything else. There are about a dozen verses on it, and there are 26 verses on the life mission of all prophets, constantly mentioning that as a preacher, as a preacher, as a preacher. So if we connect these two with Surah Nisa, verse 94, that if someone gives you Assalamu alaikum, don't say he's a non-Muslim. And then there is a hadith that whoever prays like you, eats your food, he is a Muslim. If we connect all these, then we get a spiritual construction of Islam. But then again, it is oversimplified too, because Prophet did lots of worldly things. Especially he ran an administration, he fought in battles. People made those things as part of Islamic faith system. That's why the scholar Fazlur Rahman, famous one, in his book Islam, probably in page 23, said that the highest challenge of progressive Muslims today is to prove that many actions of the Prophet had nothing to do with Islam as a faith. Now, there is another definition of Islam, another construction of Islam, and you will get it in page 1081 of Sahih Bukhari, combined Sahih Bukhari of Dr. Muhsin Khan of Medina University. Here it is said, and again I am reading from my book on the screen. It is obvious that in the beginning, fighting was forbidden for Muslims. Then it was permitted, and after that it was made obligatory. see how Islam is being constructed based on aggressive wars and based on the verse of sword, chapter Tawbah, verse 5 and verse 29. And any peace treaty with non-Muslims was not allowed. So to establish this version of Islam, Sharia law was created. Untitled Chapter, where is it? Here it is. And this book is authenticated by Al-Azhar University. Yes, the law number 098, 9.809.9 says, the Caliph will be fighting all the non-Muslims of the world. And then Maulana Maududi writes, the truth is most important in Islam, but there are cases where telling lie is obligatory. In which case, then again, it is law number R.8.2. If the goal is obligatory, then lying is obligatory. What is goal to them? Establishing Islamic State. So I think I will add two more elements and one more element, and then I'll start. To support this theory of establishing global Islam by conquering the whole world by fighting, theological detour was taken. Quran was explained in support of that. And of course, there are many verses in the Quran supporting warfare, about warfare. But those were just contextual. Then Surah Hadid, verse 25, was explained as, the verse says that Allah gave us iron and there is strength in iron. It was explained that this strength of iron is the strength of battlefield. That's not a very honest tafsir. And then when in 732, Muslims were decisively defeated in French border by General Hammer, then this same Surah Hadid, verse 25, was explained that yes, Allah gave us iron, and this strength of iron is the strength of Islamic State. This is the root, theological root of Islam that we see today. They want to establish global Islamic State. But you know what?
Thank you.
Lots of Islamic scholars are against it. This is the book of the biggest Islamic organization of the world, Nahdlatul Ulama. Before about 7-8 years, their member number was 40 million. And it was created by alims and ulamas, Nahdlatul Ulama. Can you read the name of this book?
Right, The Illusion of an Islamic State. Yes.
Yes, ulamas are saying this. So my call to especially my countrymen, that you always saw one face of Islam, that is political Islam in support of Islamic State. But please have a look at the other side of the coin also. Read these books and then decide yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mahmoud. Thank you for giving a definition or trying to portray what Islam is or what defines Islam. Let me understand a bit more from your perspective, if I'm getting it right. So Islam, the main purpose of Islam, in fact, no matter how we define it, boiling down to one question, how do we go to heaven, basically? So Islam is there to take us to heaven if we follow it, hopefully. Now, the question again remains, if that's the case, then you have given us 5 pillars, and the Shias will definitely differ on the 5 pillars, as we know. But if we read Surah 2, that means Surah Baqarah, if I may, I'm going to Surah Baqarah. Right. My Arabic pronunciation is not the best in the world, but I will try to. Inna allazina amanu wal lazina hadu wan nasara was sabiyana man amana billahi wal yawmi akhiri wa amila salihin alahum azrum inna rabbihim wa la khawfun alayhim wala hum yahzanun. If you translate that, it means indeed those who believed and those who were Jews or Christians or Sabians.
Yeah.
Those who believed in Allah and the last day, did righteous things, will have their reward with their Lord. No fear will there be concerning them, nor will they grieve. So if that's the case, then this is probably the in the entire Quran, except if one more similar of the same verses. It's clear that if the destiny is heaven, if we want to go to heaven, this is the verse. And if this is the verse, then those 5 pillars, except believe in Allah, nothing else counts. And it reminds me of Yajur Veda, chapter 40, verse 17, where it emphasizes on believing in one God.
Mm-hmm.
We have, in India, a movement of, to go to heaven, you have to believe in one God, and the emphasis on that by Arya Samaj.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, those books, they predate Quran, at least from what we have, what history says. And as a researcher, I'm going to excuse myself from questioning or assessing the origin of Islam from any belief-based understanding. So my question comes again, if you're saying, if you have defined very well Islam as from your angle, but then you have gone to the present situation where how Islam and Muslims, many of us, we formulate what Islam's purpose of Islam is and how we dominate the world and wish to dominate the world, and etc. But if we go for the traditional understanding, some will differ. For example, Quran, Hadith, and then Ijma, Qiyas, and all that. The rest goes on. But again, if we see Quran, then comes, let's put aside Quran for a while, Hadiths. There are various fractions and sects in Islam where they differ about the sources, which hadiths to be acceptable, which are not. The Shias very much reject Bukhari. And again, the Ahl Hadith, they also have different understanding of which hadiths to rely on from the other Muslims. Bukhari Muslim given the top priority and emphasis amongst the hadiths. Then you go for Siyasitta, Bukhari Muslim, Tirmidhi, Nasai, Abu Dawud, Ibn Majah. And when it comes to Ijma, we have seen that Islamic scholars, the earliest ones, they differ. Imam Abu Hanifa and Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Ibn Hajam, they are all agreed on Ijma to be relied on the companions of the Prophet, the Sahaba only. Then there are other Imams who went to say we should include the Tabi'in. So here we see there's a difference there. Again, when it comes to Qiyas, the same situation again faces us. The problem of Qiyas, how much to accept, how much not to accept. For example, Imam Abu Hanifa, he did have some flexibility when it comes to Qiyas. But again, Bukhari, when it comes to giving opinion about Qiyas, he didn't support that.
Okay.
Goes on. And when it comes to, you say, Qiyas, we have seen Ahmed ibn Hanbal, he very much differed himself, distanced himself from many of the jurists of his time. And he was, obviously, we know, he was caned and, for all that. And the questions of whether Quran is created or uncreated, and all those issues, they put Muslims into trouble of their time.
Okay.
Moving on, we have seen the growth of tafsirs, and we must not forget the seerah, or the biography of the Prophet. You know, the works of Ibn Sa'd, the works of Ibn Ishaq.
Yeah.
There's a tendency of emphasizing on that by Tabari, who tried to reflect on the works of Ibn Ishaq. Now the question comes, what do we really rely on to understand what Islam is all about?
Okay.
Is it only Quran? Are we going for the Seerah? Because the Seerah are questioned by many of the scholars, even Muslim scholars, because many of the writings, even we are coming to the authenticity of those later, but even Seerah, the narrations, the details of the narrators are rather obscure. So the most of the Muslim scholars do not emphasize on those much. The greatest of the tafsirs, including Ibn Kathir, came hundreds of years after Tabari as well. So if I may ask you, what would you say Muslims would look for when it comes to sources of Islam? Please.
Beautiful. Well, the impact of a religion on human life and society, let me repeat this complicated question. The impact of a religious book on human life and society is not what is written in that book. It is how the religious gurus understand and explain those words and sentences of religious books and apply to the society. As people's thinking vary, that's why the impact of one single book varies in the society, in different countries, different ages. Same Quran, same Prophet, people understood differently, applied in differently, and got different results. And that is normal. So what we should do, we should take the best one. We should take the best one that brings peace to human life, so not only Muslims, as a whole. And
right.
Yeah.
What is the best one?
This is the best one, the interpretation of the book or verses or the chapters of the Quran that brings the best fruit in life and society. That's it.
So when it comes to interpreting the Quran, the other sources that I had mentioned earlier, hadith, tafsir, ijma, qiyas, and all that, and goes on, the list goes on. These are all collectively an effort to understand the Quran and to interpret it. Time goes by, efforts are made to make Quran more acceptable or compatible with the ongoing time. If that's the case, then Quran, if I may use the term, because I'm going to be ruthless in my criticism, if I may. If that's the case, then Quran has lost its shape because everybody wears it.
Tell me again, Quran
has lost its shape because everybody wears it. If you can't find something, you will find it in Quran. If you can find something, it was always there. That's the claim. Because the issues that you started with, the 5 pillars of Islam, the hadith of Gabriel, which has no basis to my understanding, to my research. If I see that there's not a single issue in the entire Quran or Islam, if I may, in entire Islamic jurisprudence or history or hadith, morality, there's not a single topic or even references where all the Muslims are united not even the question of Shahada.
Thank you very much. You actually again hit the bullseye. And we are paying the price for it. And you know what? Some of those came from honest mistakes, but surely some came through conspiracy.
Hmm. But my position is, Mr. Mahmoud, my position is entire Islam was concocted. Entire Islam was concocted. The Islam that we know today was concocted. When it comes to hadiths, I could not find any complete copy of evidence of Bukhari, Sahih Bukhari, before the 12th century. There are some recensions in the 11th. I couldn't find more than one sentence or two sentences of hadiths, which we, from other sources, which we find later on in Austria, Vienna, Germany, and all that. I could not establish a chain of hadiths from Bukhari, even if Bukhari, for example, even if Bukhari had dictated it, that is, to thousands of his students. The history itself, so Bukhari lectured to one of his students, Farabri, who went to dictate, just before he died, basically, twice, at a grand old age. Then that student of his, not his student even, somebody he came to know twice. Then that gentleman dictated that almost 6 decades after hearing from Bukhari, which is quite amazing to me, to a teenager who allegedly passed it on to us. So this is a question, it's questionable to me because I don't know much about Farabri. We don't know much about Farabri. Islamic history doesn't know much about Farabri, about his acumen, about his genius. We don't know much about, almost nothing about, he was allegedly a great scholar. No, nothing. There are claims of old hadiths, for example, Munabeh. Then Munabeh, I studied Munabeh, I tried to find out what was Munabeh all about. Taking, well, whatever we see, even Imam Ahmad Hanbal's collection, there's a chapter for Munabeh. So if we see that, Munabeh's background tells me he had Judeo and Zoroastrian background from his mother's and father's side. And we see implications of those in his hadith works. There's a tremendous, astonishing onslaught of Judeo-Christian doctrines, practices in hadith collections. Mm-hmm. There is not a single hadith where I can rely to follow the 5 pillars, to the point. I can't do it. I can't follow the 5 pillars. So, hadiths gone through the window for me, because if I wanted to pray the Jumu'ah prayer, I don't know how to pray, even from hadiths. If I want to pray Maghrib, I don't know how many rakahs are there. So even if I say, forget the hadiths, let's go for imams. Imam Abu Hanifa is saying, if there is a bit reddish just before the dusk, you start your Maghrib prayer. And then Imam Shafi is saying, if it is a bit yellowish, you can start the prayer. There again, I'm told they are accepting one another. If you find a better source, accept another, throw the rest away. But the question, it comes again, when I see the teacher or main instigator of Imam Bukhari, Ishaq ibn Ruwai, he didn't like Imam Abu Hanifa. And the jurists have serious problem with Sirah collectors. Mm-hmm. And there is a tremendous influence of Al-Mansur on Ibn Ishaq. Mm-hmm. Ibn Ishaq was sponsored by Al-Mansur, mm-hmm, to be a state teacher, professor, or national professor, if you want to put it that way, today's terms. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me because Al-Mansur was atrocious against Imam Zafar al-Sadiq. Allegedly, quote, allegedly, the family or progeny of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Doesn't make sense to me. Then none of the hadith collectors were ever persecuted except Nasai, who was beaten to death.
Yes.
Because he didn't pay the right respect, show the right respect to Muawiyah.
Yeah.
Now again, I was trying to find out about Muawiyah. Muawiyah didn't build a single mosque in 39 years of his ruling.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a single proof that Muawiyah was even a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
His family background and everything proves that he was probably a Christian man. And I have found evidence, claims from the Christian side, which date back many 100 years, that this man probably was a Christian. Because John of Damascus was the treasurer. Imagine the finance minister of today, a caliphate, controlling all the finances of Muslims. It doesn't make sense. So that's gone. Now again, come to history. The history, the historians, the earliest historians, were always sidelined. Even today, the mullahs of Bangladesh, they're always sideline historians. It is not something new. The historians, if you go to Mekhnaf, the earliest source of, you see, the Battle of Karbala.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Mekhnaf has no basis. We don't know much about Mekhnaf. The Mekhnaf is, it's blurry, all blurry. If we are told not to read the history, we are told not to value much about inscription. So inscriptions are gone. Because if we rely on, imagine today, Hasan bhai, you are a scholar, you write profusely. I try to research and I do write. Imagine if memorizing is part of my faith, being a scholar on top, I will not make a mistake when it comes to Quran.
Mm-hmm.
But there are thousands of examples of overwriting, correction, flawed, which can be proven today from today's Quran. I'll give an example. Professor Azmi, who received King Faisal Award from Saudi government, he accepted manuscripts of trouble. And again, Yasir al-Qadi, who questioned even the collection of Quranic, bound book. So where do we stand? I can't even perform salat or prayer, daily prayer. I can't perform the Hajj. I can't perform the Eid. I can't perform the Zakah, because Tazaka is another problem for me, because it goes to the Hebrew claim of Tazaka, which is another, if you, I'm sure you are familiar with comparative religion, then that's questionable. Every single aspect is questionable. When it comes to archaeology, I will end it. I will end in 2 minutes. If you go for archaeology, I can't find Islam before the 9th century. I can't find it. The city, the word Medina, it is used as a proper name. It's not used as a proper name. It's used as a common name in Quran.
Yeah.
There's no archaeological evidence of Makkah, Medina there. Earliest sources of Islam, even if you take them as true, doesn't even mention where Prophet died. Lastly, but not the least, there's not a single verse in the Quran where it says it mentions the name Muhammad. There's not a single verse. There is
a surah called Muhammad.
No, there's three. I'll come to that. There are 3 verses directly Muhammadur, Muhammadan. Muhammad is not there because Muhammad, the name, doesn't fit the kasra rule of Arabic. It doesn't. Because for example, Mutazila, Muazzin, these are all common names. These are not proper names. So that I don't think there will be a single Arabic grammarian who will disagree with me that this breaks the kasra rule of Arabic proper name. Now, the name, who named these chapters? who divided the chapters?
Okay.
How many verses should be there? Because even if we say Surah 17, you see the problem, Mr. Mahmoud. Surah 17, verse 1, if it refers to Muhammad, the name is not mentioned. Surah 17, verse 2, the following verse refers to Moses.
Not 17. Surah 47 is Surah Muhammad.
No, I'm not talking about Surah 17, Al-Isra.
Oh, okay.
The naming of the surahs, there are various names of the surahs. You will find, you take 100 Quran randomly, you will see the names differ in many cases. Because there's no naming of the Quran. Who named them?
Okay.
If there are sporadic verses, for example, there is a verse in the Quran that the truth has come, falsehood will vanish. This verse, in fact, many of the mullahs will tell you that it came when the Prophet came to Makkah and started demolishing the statues, which is not true anyway. Started destroying the statues, but then he uttered it. The question is, this is a Meccan surah. So he went to Medina, came back to Mecca. So this verse jumped the timeline and fit in there. How do you see all this?
All right. You have pulled so many strings that it's just not possible for anyone to address all this. What I can make out is, as a very, very energetic person, you left no stone unturned to find out the truth. But as there are gaps, and as these are unprotected documents, it's no wonder that you are lost and you are confused. Your questions are very logical, but you will not find answers here, in this history, because of many factors. Time gap of documents, conflicting documents. Now the point comes that you said Ijma, Qiyas. About Ijma, there is a book, The Doctrine of Ijma, by Ahmed HASAN. At that time, alims decided that if their Ijma, their unified opinion goes against a Quranic verse or a Prophet's Sunnah, then Muslims should take it that that verse is repealed, nux, and that Sunnah is also cancelled. So this is actually capturing ownership of Islam. Actually, you know what, this original document is in the book of your friend, right, Imam Tawhidi.
Yes.
The original document is there, but other books denounced this, Dr. Hashim Kamali and others. So, and about Qiyas, you said about Qiyas. What if an Imam Alim doesn't get the time to change his Qiyas? Imam Shafi changed his opinion twice.
Yes.
What if he would die before changing his opinion? So Qiyas, there is a Qiyas on Qiyas that a Qiyas of an alim is acceptable only after his death. So it's a total mess. You have pulled so many strings. One of them is extremely important. And I don't know why you touched it. As you touched it, I am going to address it. There are many things that I found. Say, I am doing it. A big part of my life I invested in Islamic books. I know these things since 20-25 years, but I never said it. You will not find this in my book or books. But I'm telling you, you are talking about the preservation of the Quran. You talked about Yasir Khadi and another alim. Well, we believe that each and every Quran of the world is similar up to the dot. We do believe it, right? We are made to believe it, and we believe it. I believe it.
I think, Hasan, if I may interrupt, if you forgive me, even the Saudi government, they accepted that there are at least half and wash style of tilawat of the Quran, which has, in fact, moderately differed from one to other. There's many words. I can give you plenty of examples when hafs and wash meaning subtly differ. So there is not a universally at one Quran.
I am coming to that. Let me finish my equations. First, we believe that all the Qurans of the world are same dot up to the dot. Point number two, it's a logical question that you can only claim this after checking all the Qurans of the world. Before that, your claim is not legitimate. Right? Am I clear?
I'm listening, yeah.
Okay. But we still believe it. We know that nobody checked, but we still believe it because in every religion there is a place of blind faith, belief.
Yes.
We are believing it. But then recently, Dr. Yasir Khadi, Dr. Selim Sajid, other scholars recently came up with a very honest declaration that no, we have different Qurans in this world today, at least 5 types. And Dr. Salim showed the Qurans, different Qurans in front of the camera. But you know what? About 15 years ago, a book was published, which I bought.
Mm-hmm.
Which Quran? Written by Ibn Warak. This big a book. That book shows scans of pages of different Qurans in the world, and it states which Quran is available in which place of the world. So, Dr. Yasir Qadi said his sentence was, the standard narrative has holes in it.
Yes, very much so.
So
but
now, okay,
go ahead. Sorry, go on.
We are entering a new phase of our Muslim world when alims are challenged with new issues and tough issues, and they have to come up with answers. Otherwise, our next generations will have tremendously bad effect. Dr. Zakir Naik said 24% of the Middle East Saudi youth who goes to the West leave Islam. Dr. Bilal Phillips said that leaving Islam by Muslims is coming towards, like he said, towards tsunami and what is the word?
Avalanche.
Avalanche, yes. He used these 2 words. World top level alims are saying these now, that Muslims are leaving Islam like anything. Why?
Yes.
Because of these messes, as you mentioned, right? In our wars back home, so much of violence and so much of hatred to others and so much of hatred to insult to women. This generation of madrasa students, they are smart. They will not swallow violence and folk stories in the name of Islam. So we will see a dramatic change in the leadership of Islam.
Well, will the leadership be able to answer very valid questions? For example, I can throw a few more questions, challenges rather. One, is Quran a book which was best out in Arabic? I'm using the term best out. I would rather say manufactured, but anyway, best out in Arabic. My position is, I don't think so. It was diluted. I'll give an example. I'm not going to go without an example. Mount Sinai was mentioned in the Quran in Surah 23, verse 20. Surah 23, verse 20. My audience and viewers can check. Verse 23, chapter 23, verse 20. It is mentioned as Sinai. And then again, in Surah Tin, وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونِ وَطُورِ سِنِينَ, it is mentioned as Sinin. Sinin is a Hebrew word. It's not Arabic. I can give you plenty more examples where alternatively Hebrew, Pahlavi, Arabic, even Greek words are used in Quran. the question comes, why? I tried to dig deep and deeper. I almost drowned myself going into much deeper. Then I found out that the surahs, which in fact, structurally, size-wise, almost the same, surahs which start with a similar kind of attributes or declarations or swearing. I would say, for example, wal asr innal insana lafi khusr wat tine wa zaytune wa tur sinin, or the surahs which start like qul huwallahu ahad Allahu samad or qul a'udhu birabbin nas. They are structurally, whichever are same, addressing quite the similar situations, similar regions, and the etymology of those words used bear the same sources. It's astonishing. Then it comes to bigger surahs. There's a traditional claim that he was influenced by Christians and all that. I took my view into digging into this issue, and I found out that surahs like Surah Al-Imran, Surah Baqarah, which are big surahs, those are apologetic towards Christians and Jews. But again, I have seen that that Surah Yusuf is almost copy-pasted from the Bible, almost, with a few words here and there. My question is, why? This is just a description of a story. There are other verses of the surahs, which Surah Maida declared, they questioned the Trinity and all that, which are understandable, Quran clarified. But copy-pasting a whole chapter, except a few words here and there, it didn't make sense to me. So that's questionable to me again. Then when I was examining the inscriptions of the earliest times, I found out the emerald tablet of the Hellenistic period. I will, if I may, take a bit of time and show you, Mr. Mahmud.
Sure.
If you spare me 1 minute, I will just Google it for my viewers, and we'll see it together. Because I went to very many museums to see it with my own eyes. So let's go, share the screen, and emerald tablet. I'm there. You see the emerald tablet here. I dug deeper into emerald tablets, the Hellenistic period, which is 300 BC and all that, goes up to 100, 200, or even 300 AD. Zabir ibn Hayat tried to translate this emerald tablet, and he did. Allegedly, he did. Then here, if you read truth, certainty, if you can follow me here, that in which there is no doubt. This is 800 years older than Quran. Does it remind you of a verse in the Quran?
Yeah, very similar.
Alif Lam Mim Zalikal Kitabu La Raiba Fi Hudal Lil Muttaqin. Now, again, Zabir ibn Hayya, if you even Google Zabir ibn Hayya, most of the modern critics would say he never even existed, because this was a pen name. We don't even know much about it. Then Bakka suddenly became Makkah. I don't know how to follow Islam anymore, because the word Makkah is mentioned only once. And Bakka is still mentioned in the Bible. Quran Allah saved allegedly, but there are 300 years older Bibles, complete New Testament, complete. You may say that you don't agree with the version. That's fine. Whatever the version might be, complete set. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I'm shocked again. Then you come to Masjid al-Haram. They're translating into Makkah, into Kaaba. Doesn't make sense. I'm trying, as I said, the concept of God is not clear. That's what we started with in Surah 5. verse 95, 97, the word balagha is used. That's a deliver. That means you slaughter an animal, deliver it to Kaaba. Why should you slaughter an animal and deliver it to Kaaba? To feed? It doesn't say that. You should. So these are the reason I'm bringing all this. Even the birthday of the Prophet is not confirmed.
Of course, not confirmed.
So what is confirmed in Islam?
Well, why we have to have confirmation of everything? We
Because
don't have to.
I'm not going to follow, as I mentioned, anything blindly. I need even the understanding of Quran is Allah. There's nobody you can compare. Then I'm shouting Allahu Akbar. There's not a clear verse. Allah is compared, he's compared with some things. Then only Akbar once is used in the Quran. But you cannot just say God is greater than everything, because there are many things which you can't even compare. If you can't compare, why do you say Akbar?
It is, religion is like that. And we should complain and spend time after whenever human right is violated in the name of religion.
So
apart from that, let anyone believe in any damn thing he or she wants. Let me give you some example. When I was in the Middle East, a Hindu Purut Thakur, clergy, he came and he was delivering a speech, of course, in a house. There is that the raising sexual immorality of the world. The reason of rising sexual immorality of the world is the ban on sati. There is a law of burning widows alive with their dead husband. That is the root of all evils. It should come back again. And he quoted maybe 3-4 dozens of books and lots of references to prove it. Now nobody has the power to undo him, just like ours. Sahih Ibn Majah, volume 3, 1944 hadith. It says that in our Quran, we don't find 3 verses.
Yes.
One is about stoning the adulterer. The other 2 is about breastfeeding adults, non-mahram adults. So someone still in the Middle East, someone asked the Imam, and that Imam came from Egypt. He was a visitor. That what about this? The Surah HASAN verse 9 says that Allah has revealed this book and he would protect it. Now goat is coming and eating verses of Rajam and breastfeeding, and that's why in our Quran we don't find those verses today. He answered that goat came from the heaven. So this type of answers will not be acceptable in our next generations. Let me tell you, these students, I talk to them. Some of them are so smart, very smart. And then there is another verse of feeding the poor. It's not in the Quran. It is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, volume 3, hadith 170. Another verse of Shaheeds of Bir Mauna. It is not in the Quran. And that's mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, volume 4.
Yes.
And then there was another verse, and this is very new too. It was very new to me. There was a verse that said that if you want to meet the Prophet privately,
give them hadiyah.
Yeah, give them the hidayah. That verse is not also in the Quran, and that verse is mentioned here in my Quran, right? Here, let me read you from page 1347. It says, okay, Allah revealed a verse that whoever want to talk to the Prophet in private, they have to give some sadaqah. But it was only Hazrat Ali who observed it, and after that, it is revealed, repealed. So, why God's verse was cancelled or revealed? Who did it? In what circumstance and on what authority? We don't know. This is just one or two examples. I can give you hundreds and hundreds of issues that we don't know answer of. Here I'm telling you a very important thing. You, Mufassil Islam, I, HASAN, MAHMUD, and other persons, we came on this planet only for once. Let us utilize our every moment to the benefit for the society.
The benefit, wouldn't it benefit that if we inspire people to follow something authentic, rational, logical, and something that can sustain our intellectual challenge. But Islam, like any other religion, can't sustain the intellectual challenge. It can't. I'll give you another example. The question is, was Islam concocted by the Abbasid or Umayyad Caliphs, or was it rather formulated by the Persians? For example, the earliest translation of Quran allegedly was done by a Persian, as we know. Then again, Tabari we spoke about, one of the earliest celebrity interpreters or tafsir writer. He was Persian. Almost all the greatest hadith collectors were Persian or from around that region.
The
earliest, the most celebrated grammarian, one of the most celebrated, Sibwe, was Persian. Arabic grammar was created by Persian. And there is hypocrisy in Quranic Arabic grammar. I'll give you an example because I'm challenging the authenticity of every pillar of Islam, including Quran. Surah 36, Yasin. And then Surah 37, if you read Yasin, Al Yasin, surprisingly, if you read, I will quote it from my note. If you read Surah 37, and if you read where it mentions Al Yasin, Ilyasin, and Yasin, you will see Ilyas. You will see Surah 37, verse 123, Surah 37, verse 123, and Surah 37, 130. Surah 30, same surah, 3 verses down, 130. The grammar of Ilyasin doesn't make sense at all. This is fabrication, total fabrication. I can challenge any grammarian.
Okay, I got your point. I got your point.
The question is, Mr. Mahmoud, if we are saying it's faith, if you're saying we have to, you have to believe faith, almost all Muslims will claim it is authentic, it is authentic, it is authentic, it can't be changed, it is correct, it makes sense, and all that. I will say none of these make sense. None.
All right. Now, this debate will not lead us anywhere, but you do what you think is best for you. I made an yardstick for my work from the beginning when I started decades ago, that I will only address the violation of human rights, legitimizing oppression in the name of Islam by different tafsirs. Apart from that, there are lots and lots of issues in Islamic theology. I know it, but that's not my cup of tea. Suppose polygamy. I go for shopping and I have the right to bring 3 more wives with me. To begin with, even if I do not marry at will, my right to do so is a violence against my first wife. So I want to undo it. How? It's easy. Only one verse in the Quran allows polygamy. That is chapter Nisa, verse 3. It says that if you feel that, it's my language, my words, if you feel that orphans' welfare, well-being is compromised, then marry girls of your choice, 2, 3, or maximum 4. Here you see, marrying other wives is chained and tied with the condition of orphans. You cannot undo it. It's like if you see the grocery shop is open, then bring milk. These two actions are tied with each other. If there is rain, take umbrella with it. These two are tied with each other. If you feel,
should we just close our minds? For example, you just mentioned about Surah 4, verse 3.
No, I didn't finish it. I just started it. I started a few important things before, but then I was cut off and I was lost. So let me complete this first. This is common sense, that I have the right to marry any, 3 more wives, women, anytime I want. I don't even have to discuss with my first wife. This is a violence against my first wife. This is given. This is justice and injustice. So the Quran allowed polygamy with the condition of well-being, compromised well-being, welfare of orphans. We violated that verse. Number 2, Prophet's husband, son-in-law wanted to marry twice. Prophet didn't allow. That is in Sahih Bukhari. So, and the same Surah Nisa in verse 127 says that people ask you about marriage, tell them it's already told before. That is verse 3. And Surah 129 says that even if you try, you cannot maintain justice among all your wives. So forget about it. Forget everything. Just think of this word. If you think well-being of orphans are compromised, then you marry. How many polygamy you have seen in your life which is involved with orphans? None. So this is how I argue to Muslims, so that it is accepted to them. And the same thing is about Khul law. The Khul law of Sharia is so brutal against women. But if you connect Surah Nisa ayat 14, Sahih Bukhari volume 7, Hadiths 188, 199, and 206, you know what you will find? Did I tell you these hadiths in our first meeting?
I can't remember. If you go on.
Okay. Okay. Surah Ahzab says, that is Sahih Bukhari volume 7, Hadith 188. Prophet's wives were given the right to leave him. They did not leave him, it's their choice, but they had the right. Hadith 199 and 206. Jamila came to the Prophet and said, my husband is a very good person, but I don't want to stay with him. Prophet said, you have to give back their dowry, the orchard. She said, okay, I will give it back. Prophet, okay. Prophet enacted the divorce. Barira's case is even stronger. Her husband Mughis was crying, weeping so much that his beard became wet by his tears, but Barira doesn't want to stay with him. Prophet says, hey Barira, why don't you continue with Mughis? Barira asked, yeah, Prophet, is it your order on me, or you are just interceding? You wish it. Prophet said, no, I am not ordering you. I am wishing. I wish that you continue with him. Barira said, I'm sorry, I won't stay with him. Prophet said, okay. He enacted the divorce. So here you see, the Quran says, chapter 9, Nisa, ayat 19, that you cannot inherit women against their wishes. And here we see Prophet gave Barira the right to divorce her husband against the wish of the Prophet. But this right of women was violated by the Sharia law of Kul, that wives have to go through hell of a process to get a divorce, if at all they get a divorce. So this is what I work on. Otherwise, whoever believes Quran created, uncreated, Prophet could see in the front and back, he didn't have a shadow, okay, fine. Ahlan wa sahlan, whatever you believe, unless and until you torture someone. Over to you, Mufassil. I think we finished an hour.
Yeah, we are coming to an end. If I may just add two more words in response to your last words. First of all, you were mentioning to Surah Azab. Surah Azab, in fact, Prophet wanted to let his wives go with a condition. Surah 33, that means Azab 50 to 55, if you read it, is very clear. That Prophet's wives can't marry after him. So that is...
No, that is another issue.
Okay, I'm just saying it is, because that's the issue related to the time where Prophet wanted to let his wives go, because Allah wanted to place him.
Okay. And
again, if you are going to Surah 4, as you mentioned, verse 20, if I go for 24, that's my problem. You see, Mr. Mahmoud, I can't make sense of it if I go for Quran only even, because that's great that you mentioned about polygamy and all that. But if you read this verse, and forbidden are, I forget the brackets because brackets are man-made. Musanatu, if you marry, also forbidden married women, except
female captives.
That means if you are captive, even if you are married, as you know, there are many hadiths, Azul hadiths and all that. It's okay. So my human rights are violated left and right. They're walked over, bulldozed, totally bulldozed.
Well, is it happening today?
They are paving the way to make it happen because it's allowed in the Quran. Because when Azhari, someone like Azhari, the so-called mullah, when he was trying to come to UK, in a television interview, he said that Imam Mahdi is almost coming and he will distribute the Christian and Jewish women amongst us. What does it tell you?
Yes.
What does it tell you? It's an insult on our face. But anyway, I think, as you said, we can go on for hours together. It is not going to end. But it was a pleasure having you amongst us and for enlightening us. And I'm hoping to have you in many more episodes in the future. Any last words, Mr. Mahmoud?
Thank you very much. There is no last word in Islamic discussion, but let us stick to the principle of giving space. If someone believes that Prophet is everywhere, he can listen to me, let him. I know it's not true, but let him. Let people believe in any damn thing unless and until it violates somebody's right and honor. That's it.
Very much. Thank you very much. One of my friends also believe in fairy tale at this age. It's okay, because he was telling me about Aladdin might be true. But anyway, thank you very much for giving me time. A very good night.
Welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, Mufassil. See you again.
See you again, sir.